Students, in today's video we are going to see the practical requirements of an RCC beam. If you want to design any beam, what happens is we require three dimensions. That is, one is length, another one is breadth, another one is depth we require. So length, what happens is that we'll come to know from the plan itself. Why? Because for example, if you take the beam length, it will be from column to column. If you have primary beam, secondary beam and all, length we'll come to know. But next is, if you want to design, we require this breadth and depth of the beam. Breadth and depth are required. The next, how we are going to set this breadth and depth of the beam. So breadth, it depends upon the thickness of the wall, which is running parallel to the beam. So generally what we do, the width of the beam or the breadth of the beam, what we do, we are going to fix the width in such a way that the thickness of the wall, that should be equal to the thickness width of the beam. So that what happens that it is going to flush with the wall. Beam is going to flush with the wall. So we are not going to have any offset most of the times. So what we do, in that way we are going to fix the width of the beam. Then next is depth of the beam. So how we are going to fix? So based on the clear height required, we are going to fix the depth of the beam. If you don't have any restriction regarding the clear height, then next is based on the design loads and moments, we are going to fix the depth of the beam, and we'll take care that depth of the beam, it is not going to vary much. Like for example, if you have 10 beams, so depth of all the beams we are not going to vary. So we try to fix it in such a way that practically it has to be done in the site. So what we do is that usually we are going to fix certain standard sizes like 9 inches or like 1 feet or 12 inches. In that way what we do, we are going to fix the sizes of the beam like 15 inches or 18 inches. We'll try to vary 3 inches. So we are not going to have like a 200.1 something like the 201, 205, 301, 310. In that way, randomly we are not going to fix the depth of the beam. So these are the standard sizes which we are going to fix. Next comes is the cover to the reinforcement. So why we are going to provide the cover? So we are going to provide the cover to protect the reinforcement from the weather and fire. So what reinforcement we are going to place in the beam, so what you are seeing here, so we are going to have certain cover so that this reinforcement should not come in contact with water or fire, so that it should not corrode or melt, due to which its strength will reduce and probability that it may lose its strength and it may collapse. So as to avoid that, we are going to provide the cover. Then next, another thing is, so as to ensure the grip of the concrete over the reinforcement. What happens is that what reinforcement we are going to provide, so below that we provide certain concrete, so that this reinforcement, it is going to have certain grip. So whenever the load is going to act, it is going to act as a one. It is going to act as a one. So the load transfer as well as the stress transfer takes place. So efficiently this will resist the load. For that purpose what we do, we are going to provide the cover to the reinforcement. Then next is if you see the cover, we have two types. One is clear cover and another one is effective cover. So what do you mean by clear cover? Clear cover is nothing but, so for example, if you take this beam, you can see here, this is the concrete bottom surface. Then next here we have the reinforcement. So distance between these two, the clear distance what you are seeing, so that distance we are going to call it as a clear cover. Then next is effective cover. Effective cover will be nothing but center of the reinforcement, from the center of this reinforcement to the bottom of the surface. Center of the reinforcement to the bottom of the surface. For example, if I want to explain, I'll take one beam. So I am going to draw one cross section of the beam. This is the cross section of the beam. I'll take one bar, it is being placed here, another bar, it is being placed here now. So what is the clear cover? Clear cover is nothing but distance from this face till this face. This is nothing but the clear cover. This is clear cover what we have, that is from the bottom surface to the bottom of the reinforcement. Then next is effective cover. Effective cover is nothing but from the center of the reinforcement to the bottom of this surface of the concrete. So this is nothing but the effective cover. Clear cover and effective cover we have. Then next is we have overall depth and effective depth. So overall depth is nothing but from the top of surface to the bottom surface. Total depth what we have, we can call it as the overall depth of the beam. Then next comes is effective depth. Effective depth is nothing but distance from the extreme top compression fiber, that is distance from extreme top compression fiber to the center of the reinforcement, to the center of this reinforcement. So not this portion, so it will be up to here, from here till here. So this is nothing but we are going to denote it as D, from the center of the reinforcement to the top surface. So that we can call it as the effective depth of the beam. For example, if you want to calculate the overall depth, how do you calculate now? That is effective depth plus you can take it as effective cover. Effective depth, that is D, and effective cover you can say take this distance. So that distance if you add, you are going to get the overall depth of the beam. That is effective cover will be equal to bar radius plus clear cover. Next is effective depth. Effective depth is nothing but distance from extreme compression fiber to the centroid of the tensile reinforcement. Then next what happens is that this cover, it is going to vary for different elements. Like we have beam, column, slab, footing. For different element we are going to provide the different sizes of cover, and again it depends upon the various conditions. So in IS 456 in clause number 26.4 they have given certain criteria. Based on that what we do, we are going to provide the cover. So you can see here 26.1. So here you can see they have given 26.4, they have given the nominal cover to the reinforcement. This is in the IS 456 2000, they have given nominal cover to the reinforcement. So based on the durability requirements, they have given different dimensions which is being given in the table number 16. So for example, just I will take one example for column. So nominal cover in any case shall not be less than 40 mm. Again they have given certain clauses, like if it is 200, it should not be like minimum 25 mm you have to provide. For footing it has to be 50 mm. So further when we are going to solve the problems, that time I will tell you, but just I am showing you in this what happens that they have given the cover, like what should be the cover. So if you see based on the durability requirement, that is nominal cover to meet the durability requirement, that is for mild exposure, moderate, severe, very severe and extreme condition. These are the nominal covers which has to be provided. The next is for beams, slab, so as to meet the specified period of fire resistance. Based on this we have to provide the nominal cover. Next comes is the arrangement of the bar, arrangement of the bars in the beams. So how the bars have to be arranged. So you can see these bars we have now. So like here they have shown 4 bars, here 2 bars they have shown. So how these bars have to be placed. This is given arrangement of the bar, it is being given in SP 34 clause number 8.1. So as per this we are going to do the detailing. So here you can see this is SP 34 we have. In the section number 8 they have given arrangement of the bar. Same thing I have added this figure in the presentation, and I am showing you how we have, what should be the horizontal spacing and what should be the spacing between these two bars, vertical spacing between these two bars. So the bars shall be placed symmetrically about the vertical center line of the beams. So what it means now, for example, now this is the vertical center line of the beam. So the bars have to be placed symmetrically. So if you are going to place one bar here, means another bar has to be placed. It has to be symmetric. So you cannot say that I will provide only one bar. So minimum 2 bars have to be provided. If you take this, so one side will be left and right. So minimum 2 bars have to be provided, and it has to be symmetric. That is one condition. Then next is that when there are only 2 bars in a row, so these bars shall be placed at the outer edges. So what it means now, for example, in this figure if you see we have only 2 bars. So we have to place the bars in such a way that they have to be on the outer face, nearer to the outer face. So you should not say that at the center I will place the bars, right? So therefore it has to be placed on the outer edges. Then next is that when there are different diameters of the bars placed in a single bottom row, larger diameter bars have to be placed on the outer side. So what it means now, for example, if you take here we have 4 bars. For example, what I will do, I will take these 2 bars. Outer bars has 20 mm, for example, we have 20 mm bars. The next is inner bars. They are of 16 mm dia. So now what we have to do is that whenever we are going to have different diameters of the bar, so larger diameter bars have to be placed on the outer edge. So you can see here on this face and this face, these are the outer edges. So larger diameter bars have to be placed on outer edges, smaller diameter bars have to be placed inside. Then next comes is the spacing of the bar, that is I have talked about this spacing. I have said regarding the bars. Next comes is the spacing between these bars. So these bars, so spacing between this bar and this bar, what is the criteria? It shall not be less than, that is the diameter of the bar. So first one is that the horizontal distance between the 2 parallel main reinforcing bars shall be equal to or more than, first criteria is the diameter of the bar if diameters are equal. If the diameters are equal, so then what we can do, minimum like it should not be less than the diameter of the bar, that is one criteria. Second is that the diameter of the larger bar if the diameters are unequal. So for example, if you have like 2 different diameters, this is 16 mm, this is 20 mm. So this 5 will be 20 mm minimum. Then next is 5 mm more than the nominal maximum size of the coarse aggregate, right? So here they have given another thing, that is H aggregate is nothing but nominal maximum size of the aggregate plus 5 mm. It shall not be less than these criteria. It shall not be less than this criteria. That is nothing but the spacing between the bars, that is in horizontal spacing. Then next comes is when the bars are being placed, another thing is that when needle vibrators are used, then this horizontal spacing may be reduced to 2/3 the nominal maximum size of the coarse aggregates. Then next is this minimum vertical distance. Now this bar we have and these bars we have. So what happens is that sometimes the bars have to be placed when there are more number of bars. That time what they do, they are going to place the bars in 2 rows. So that time what should be the minimum distance between this bar and this bar? So it shall not be less than, first one is 50 mm, that is it shall not be 15 mm, or the diameter of the bar, that is maximum size of the bar, whichever is greater, or 2/3 of the nominal maximum size of the aggregate, that is 2/3 the nominal maximum size of the aggregate. So in this way the spacing between these 2 bars have to be, these 2 rows have to be done.